Alrighty, artists, so for this step we are going to figure out how we are going to add kind of a drop shadow to our letters here. So what I am doing is I'm choosing one side of my letters that I would like to create a shadow on. For this portion, I'm showing you how to do a shadow on the right side of my letters, but you can choose whatever you'd like. You can do the top side of your letters, you can do the bottom side of your letters, the left side, or the right. You just have to make sure you're being consistent with it once you choose. So right now what I'm doing is on the left and the right side of the letter S, I just need to make sure that any right side of that letter is going to have a bolder outline than the rest. So right now I'm just going in and adding that shadow only on the right sides of any part of the letter. So you can see I'm on the letter T, still on the letter S at this point. And moving on to the T next. Again, focusing on the right side of the letter S and doing a thin line around the rest, so just leaving it as is for now. Moving on to the T, just doing the right side of the T. You can do 2 lines and just fill it right in to create that shadow. You can make these shadows even bolder if you want. It's up to you how thick those shadows get. And I'm also doing the right side of the A at this point, just moving from letter to letter, making sure that I'm not leaving any part of the letter out where I'm adding the shadows. Next, I'm going to go to the left side of the A and again adding a shadow to the right side of that part of the letter. Making sure that I'm paying attention to how the A goes behind the letter T. Making sure to be very neat when it comes to those places where one letter might cross over the next. That's a little thin, so just going in and making a little bit bolder so it's thicker. Now going to the left side of the H and doing the shadow on the right side. Again, making it thick and filling in. Doing the bottom side. That can get a little bit confusing because it's the left side of the letter, but you're still doing the right side shadow. And then going to the right side of the letter H and adding that shadow going off to the right. Craftsmanship is going to play a large role here. As long as you're working slowly and carefully, you should be able to get really nice clean lines if you're really focused on what you're doing. Making sure that you're not bumping the table as you're going along. Now I have all of these little drops at the bottom of my letter L. I really need to pay attention and make sure that only the right side is going to be a little bit bolder on these. So I'm just going in, adding the outline first, and then making it a little bit bolder on the right side of each droplet, leaving the left side a little bit thinner. Doing the right side of the L, and I'm going to fill that entire little space in there because that's pretty narrow in between the L and the K. Fill that in. And now doing the right side of the letter K. Now technically it's the left side of the letter, but I'm going in and adding the shadow to the right. Right side of the arrow, fill that in. Now I'm working on the right side of the letter K, adding a shadow to the right. It's kind of the bottom right for that one. Make that a little bit bolder where that arrow is. Bottom side of the letter K, doing only the right side shadow. And at this point, you're probably getting the gist of how to get started with your shadows. Some areas you might decide to fill in completely with the shadow, like those little areas in the K and the A. Moving on to the letter E, making a shadow on the right side of the top of the E. Now the bottom side. And I forgot the bottom right side of the paintbrush. I can make that nice and bold too. Make that pop. Now I'm going in and making sure I have the right side of each letter in shadow. Every little part of that letter, I need to do the right side. At this point, when you're finished with your shadows, you can go in and add a thin outline to the rest. You don't want them to get too bold, so I'm just doing one stroke if I can keep it to that with the Sharpie. And again, I forgot the little right side of the E in there, so I'm adding that shadow. And technically the arrow is also going to the right as well, so I'll have to do a shadow there. Finishing that thin outline everywhere else. So now I'm essentially adding a thin line to the left side or the tops of my letters. And I might round out my edges just a little bit when I'm working on those graffiti letters so that they don't look so crisp on the edge, giving it more of that graffiti effect. And meanwhile, just making sure that I'm double checking throughout the entire process that I didn't forget any right sides of any of my letters. Always double checking. It's looking pretty neat. Once you're finished with your outline with the Sharpie, you're going to notice that you may still have a little bit of pencil left over, which is totally fine. You just want to make sure that your Sharpie is completely dry before going in and erasing any of those leftover pencil marks. So at this point, I'm just really cleaning up those edges nicely by taking my eraser and going and cleaning up any leftover marks that are still showing of the pencil. Once you have that step finished, your outline is pretty much done. You can always go back and make small changes as you go throughout the process. In the next video, I'll show you how I add color to all of my letters. And we can work on making our letters super creative as well.